All right, good morning. So we're doing this video thing again. So you guys know the expectations. Please take notes. Okay. All right, we're going to talk about graphing with an XY table. Again, this should possibly be review, but there's a couple of things that we need to talk about before you get to that point. Okay, so make sure we have everything out and we're taking notes. Okay, first, what we're going to do is decide which of the 2 points lies on the graph of the line. All we're doing is plugging in those x, y, those ordered pairs, and we're going to say, yes, it is true, or no, it's false. Okay? So if it's true, that means that those points lie on that line. Okay? And this is your first part of your homework. So what we're going to do is every time you see an X, you're plugging in 2. Every time you see a Y, you're plugging in 2 for this one. So it's going to be 2 plus 2 equals 6. X is 2, Y is 2. We're going to solve this. Equals 6, which is not true. So let's do this one and see if it works. X is 5, Y is 1. So it's 5 plus 1 equals 6. So this one is a no. So this point does not lie on this line. And this one's a yes. This one does lie on this line. So if we graph this line with an XY chart, 5, 1 will be a point. Okay. All right, let's go on. Here's our next one. Every time you see an X, I'm plugging in 2. Remember 2 and X, they are multiplying together. And every time I see a Y, I'm plugging in -2. Reminder, 5 and Y are multiplying. So let's do this again. 2 times X, which is 2, minus 5, Y, which is -2, equals -14. Multiply first, and I'm going to take that as a -5. So 2 times 2 is 4. -5 times a -2 is a +10. And I have 14 equals -14, which is not true. Okay, let's do this one now. Again, plug it in. So 2 times X, which is -2, minus 5, Y, which is 2, equals -14. 2 times -2 is -4. -5 times 2 is a -10. And as we can tell, this one is going to work out. Don't assume that they're all going to work out because they don't. Okay, so that is your first part of your homework. You will be doing 4 problems over this. If you have questions, come up and make sure that I answer them or just write them on the side of your page. This will probably be a 2-video lesson. So here's your first part. All right, now we're going to solve the equation for y. This is probably the most difficult part in this section, okay? So I want y by itself. If I underline the variable that I want by itself and circle that thing that I want to get rid of, how do I get x over here? Yeah, if I subtract x. Now, can you put 7 and x together? I'm hoping you are shaking your head no or saying no in your brain. Because why? Because they're unlike terms. You guys got to get that through your head. So we're going to put y, drop down your equals, and I would rather have this first, but I will take this, or I will take -x plus 7. Remember, this is a plus sign in front. Okay? So I will take either of these answers. All right. Now they're, of course, not going to be all that easy. So I have this last one, which is pretty difficult, but we can do it. So I want to get y by itself, okay? So how do I get this over here? The opposite of a positive 2x, subtract 2x, good. Now again, can you put 12 and 2x together? No, why? because they're unlike terms. So you put them just right next to each other. You can't put them together. Put them right next to each other. Drop this down. I'm going to put negative 2x. 12 is positive. Now, how do you get y by itself? What is 3 and y doing together? I'm hoping that you're saying multiply. So what's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So when we're dividing, you have to divide each term by that number, okay? So then I have just y equals negative 2x over 3, which is just a negative 2/3, plus, what is 12 divided by 3? Just 4. And that's it, okay? It seems pretty easy, right? So you have 3 of these problems. Make sure you watch out for signs, okay? Right, so first we underline what we wanted to solve for. You will solve for y because that is what we're working with linear equations, y equals mx plus b. You took this positive 2x and put it on the other side. We can't combine 12 and 2x because they're unlike terms, so I put them right next to each other, making sure that 2 was negative and 12 was positive. And then when I'm dividing by that number that was with y, you have to divide each term by 3. This is your final answer. All right, now we're going to get down to the XY table, okay? Now this is the back side of your homework. I'm gonna actually have you graph them. So I do have some graph paper up here if you need some. So this is what it's gonna look like on your homework assignment. You have an equation, and I want you to solve for y because we're gonna practice solving for y. So here's your y. How do I get this over here? By subtracting it. So you have y equals negative 2x plus 1. Now what you're going to do is every time they give you an x, you're plugging it in for there. So the first one is y equals negative 2 times negative 1 plus 1. Okay, I just put this x in for that x. Now, PEMDAS says multiply first. Negative 2 times negative 1 is 2, plus 1, so y is 3. And that's where I'm going to put this right here. Okay? Now you're going to continue to do that. So I'm going to take this equation. I'm going to plug in negative 4 for x now. Multiply first. That's what PEMDAS tells us to do. Y equals 9. And the last one is for y is 3. Every time I see that x, I'm plugging in a 3. Negative 2 times 3, negative 6 plus 1, negative 5. Okay. So you are going to have 3 work. You can do this on a different piece of paper so you have a little bit more room, okay? Now what we're going to do is plot these points. This point, negative 1, 3. Your second point, negative 4, 9. And your last point is 3, negative 5. Okay? So I'm just going to write them down here so I can see them better. You don't have to rewrite them because you're just going to tell me what number it is. So now I'm going to plot these points. I don't think I'm going to have enough numbers, but x is negative 1. Remember, this is the x-axis. This is the y. And I'm going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3. That is your first point. Negative 4, 9. So I'm going to go over x is negative 4. And I'm going to go up 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Let's say 9's right here. That is my second point. And now I'm going to go x is positive 3.